Explain to me why these two niggas really are beefing. Like, why is they beefing? I really don't understand. I know they're not too fond of each other for whatever reason, but let's just discuss and talk about it. What's up? What's happening? It's Big K. We back in the stand. K too good. He sleep with K.A.Vuitton. Patron, you know the big dog one a ton. Apparently, Pete Rosenberg claims Joe Budden is ungrateful for media career boost. Now, recently, Joe Budden did celebrate like 10 years of podcasting or whatever have you. Shout out Joe Budden. Shout out my nigga Rory. Shout out Ma. Regardless, yes, this is a new iteration of the Joe Budden podcast. Hey, I gotta shout out. Hey, there is the reason, part of the reason, as much as, yes, Joe Budden does have the name. Yes, I did like his dynamics with Rory and Ma and Parks as well. Even though I do like the new cast, and there's no hate to them, that was the main cast that made me start watching. You know, he was plugging it on Everyday Struggle. I went over there, started watching, fell in love with them. I thought it was funny and hilarious. So again, I do have to give them boys their props as well, regardless of this new iteration or whatever the fuck it is. Hey, them boys really did that shit. Even I went back to watch some of the OG episodes when it was what was it? I'll name this podcast later. With what was it? Marty the Body was there. I don't know if Pete was doing the mix. Like, yeah, I respected it, gang. I respected it. Shit, shout out Pete, because I saw Pete was part of the journey as well. So shout out Pete as well. But yeah, I don't know, gang. Like Peter Rosenberg. I ain't gonna lie, him and Ebro, bro. I ain't gonna lie. It's mostly academics they be going back and forth with, but yeah, Joe and Pete, I just don't understand. Them niggas, they just have whatever issues they have with each other. But anyways. The Hot 97 host wants his flowers. The Joe Budden podcast has become a media phenomenon. It's one of the biggest music podcasts in the world. It has turned Joe Budden from an underground favorite to the Howard Stern of hip hop. I guess you could say that. I personally wouldn't say that. No disrespect to Joe. I do fuck with Joe, but I wouldn't say that. But anyways, Peter Rosenberg knows better than most the impact that the podcast has had. He was heavily involved in the recording of the first episode and helped Budden get his footing as a broadcaster and media personality. The podcast will turn 10 years old in 2025, which it already has, but instead of celebrating, Peter Rosenberg decided to call Budden out for being ungrateful. Rosenberg quote tweeted a celebratory post he made in 2024. The post coincided with the 9 years of the Joe Budden podcast and saw the veteran media figure reflect on the historic first episode. The post that accompanied this reflection, though, was frustrated. Peter Rosenberg effectively bashed Joe Budden for failing to recognize how important he was in the formation of the podcast. Happy anniversary, Joe and Co. No need to mention any of the original people who started with you, he wrote. We all know you love us. The passive aggressiveness continued. With the next passage. Sorry, the side of my head itchy here. Sorry, buddy. Anyways. Annoying that Joe never shows any love or reaches out to me in any way to come on the show or do anything. But Joe would have made something great. Oh yeah, also yeah, Joe's beef with Marissa. That's a whole nother situation that I just don't really know where that started or why they have beef or whatever have you. But Joe would have made something great happen no matter what. He is a true talent. It would be cool to acknowledge those who believed in you from the very beginning. Again, I don't know. Okay. There is a bit of backpedaling, in the effort to clarify that Joe Budden got to where he is today on his own skill set, which I already read. Still, he forged ahead with a reminder that he was a crucial part of what made the podcast initially work. This is not the first time Rosenberg and Budden have butted heads, which is crazy. I know what you try to do there. His name's Budden, but even still, anyways. The two men have gone back and forth numerous times over the decade. They have argued over the artistic merits of the rapper Logic. I ain't gonna lie, Joe just don't like Logic. I don't know where the fuck that beef started from, but he don't fuck with that nigga for whatever reason. Anyways, as well as the way Budden treated former podcast co-hosts Rory and Ma. Peter Rosenberg went as far as to claim that Joe Budden will eventually burn every working relationship he has. He also admitted that he mishandled the inception of the Joe Budden podcast during a higher learning chat. I actually am just talent and I have no business sense at all, he stated. So I didn't handle it at all. Is one of those fair? Like, again, he could have said, he didn't say Ma's name. He shouted out Rory. He played Rory's sleeper. I don't know if him and Rory are just in a better place than him and Ma. Maybe that's what it is. But it is what it is at the point. At the end of the day, bro, we know what it is, bro. Joe Budden doesn't have to say the names Rory and Ma. We know what it is. As an audience, if you were watching the podcast in that collective's run, the Joe, Rory, and Ma collective, you know what I'm saying? We should add Parks, even though, like, I know Parks' face is not shown as much, but Parks is that dude. Anyways, besides all that, we do fuck with them. He shouted out Savon and Screen Man Alex, of course. You know, the Need to Know podcast. Oh, what's the other girl's name? Ruchi? I think that's her name. Shout her out as well. Anyways, no, or Reggie or something like that. Anyways, shout out her. With that being said, right? It's just one of those situations where it is what it is. Now, Pete, sometimes I feel like Peter just speaks out just to speak out again. This could have just been a conversation niggas had on the phone. And honestly, yeah, it would be a nice little full circle moment if Joe invited fucking Peter Rosenberg. I keep calling him Pete, but Peter Rosenberg to have a conversation. But it is what it is. Also, does Peter Rosenberg still work for WWE or not? If not, hey, get my nigga flipping. My nigga Flip been dying to do some of that shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. Shit, who doesn't want to see the Flip do a backflip shit on Moonsault? I'd love to see some shit like that. But anyways, with that being said, it's just one of these old beefs that, again, it could have just been spoken on the phone. It just is what it is. I don't know if they necessarily have some shit. They just don't talk to each other like some shit. I remember there was one point where Joe was telling the story. This was the other iteration with Rory and Ma. And he was telling the story how he didn't know he really had some issues with Envy or whatever have you. And they got to the same barbershop. And Envy was basically saying what his issues was with Joe for whatever reason. This, that, that. This. And I was just like, big dog, what is going on? It honestly, it is what it is. Now, the whole Marissa one, why he has beef with Marty, but I personally don't know. It makes no sense. I don't know what the fuck happened with them. But besides all that, bro, it is what it is. Hey, happy 10 years to Joe doing this podcast shit. Again, he was one of the early people that was trying to do podcasts. Probably a lot of motherfuckers was telling him this shit's gonna fail. And he really did that shit and he became a staple in this shit. So, hey, kudos and respect to him. As for, yeah, you could give flowers to other niggas again. If you watch from episode 1 to now, y'all know who the other niggas is. Now, if you don't have knowledge of that, go do your research. Because without them niggas, if you love this iteration of the podcast, bro, you wouldn't have this iteration without them motherfuckers. So, you do gotta respect and show love to them people as well. By the way, one of my favorite episodes of the Joe Budden podcast is somehow when they found a girl that he liked in like the middle school or something, and they brought her onto the podcast to talk to her. Bro, that was a great episode. I ain't gonna lie, I enjoyed the fuck out of that episode, man. I ain't gonna lie, that was a great fucking episode. But anyways, what do y'all think about the little situation? Comments down below, links in the description. Besides that, it's your friendly neighborhood K.A. sign off for today. The Black TJ there while I'm doing this thing. My name ring bells like Quasimodo. Hit like, subscribe, try to hit a little bit more to hear me. And I'm gone. Shalom, zoom, peace, y'all, gang. Aye.